Welcome to day 2. We are going to talk all the fun things. All right, day 2. Resuscitate our business and our podcast so that we can be a profit generating magnet. Doesn't that sound great? Today, we're talking about P's, the people reigniting your passion and play. Play is a huge part of business. And before you roll your eyes at me, I see you over there because I used to be you. Play really helps keep that inner passion fire going, which will be very attractive to your people. So if play is not something that's in your current business plan, you need to change it like yesterday. So, what are we creating? And what are we going over today? Today, we're creating the profitable foundation for your podcast. Why the foundation is this is where I see most holes. When I do podcast audits, which you can grab a free 30-minute audit with me, podcastcpr.com. What I find in working with my coaches, working with those free audits, working with my back-end clients, my mastermind clients, the foundations are off. There's no clarity. There's no true purpose. It's just all over the place. You can't build your house on sand. And to be honest, if you want the growth that I know you want, that's frustrating you, that your podcast isn't growing, it's because these foundational pieces aren't in play. So that's why we're going back to the basics. What you need to focus on for your podcast to grow without being a slave to social, or what do you need to have in place if you haven't launched. If you haven't launched yet, you're kind of in this unique place of you're coming into this where I'm talking to podcasters who have already launched. But if you haven't launched, here's the cool thing. You can do the same things and you can fix the foundation. So when you launch, you can be successful from day one. And that's something I wish I could have done back in the day. Hey, we're over 3 years in now. And we've got 2 ranking podcasts. I've got one in the top 10%, Feed Your Business with Love. I think moved up to the top 4% in podcast world. And I'm just really excited. So we've got to know your P's. And I'm not talking your P's and Q's, whatever that means, but we got to know your P's, your passion, your pleasure, your play, your profits, and your people. Your people are probably the most important person. You got to know your people and how that your people align with your passion. And then, of course, play should be part of your business plan. So you're one person, your one purpose, your one playful mission. And you'll see that I keep using play over and over again. Because here's the thing, play allows for creativity. I intermix the word play and creativity kind of hand in hand because you've got to keep those creative juices flowing. You've got to really get in there and be like, ooh, this is fun. This feels good. This feels joyful. This feels all the things. Because when you don't, that energy comes across like, all right, guys, you need to have your one person, your one purpose, and your one mission. For me, you're going to get something playful. I might show up with a painted face, that I might laugh, that I have genisms, which I find myself rather funny because I make up words. I don't do it on purpose. It's just literally, I have no idea why. English is not my favorite. English was not my number one subject in school. Don't know how I gained and graduated with honors, all the things, but it's not. So you got to know who you're talking to. So I know that I'm talking to someone who is in their podcast journey, is really frustrated. They're not seeing the growth numbers. They're focusing on the wrong thing. They're about to go from 1 episode a week to maybe every other episode. And then all of a sudden it's every 3 weeks. And then it's every once a month. And then boom, you have faded away into the abyss. And that's not what we want for you. I truly want to be a cure for podfade. And I think we need to take the overwhelm out and really focus on one person, one purpose, and one playful mission. And this does not mean you have to be so put in a box that you go crazy, but it does mean that you really, if you want to grow fast, you've got to have the ones. And that one playful mission is part of your signature offer, the one playful signature offer, something that you love, something that you can't stop talking about. So who are you talking to? We really need to know who's behind the question mark. Who are you talking to? There is one specific person. I really want you to figure out who you're talking to. This is really important. And I know those client avatar things are so hard. Here's the thing, depending on where you're at in your podcast journey or in your business journey, this is going to change. So if you are getting hung up in the, oh my goodness, I'm creating my client avatar and you aren't launching something, I need you to stop doing that and launch it and see who you're talking to. My avatar has changed over time as I've changed, as I've up leveled, as I've moved through things. So know that this doesn't have to be perfect forever. It just has to be perfect for right now in this moment, in this time in your business, and in this time in your podcast. So who is it that you're talking to? If you could talk to one person, talk to them like your BFF. I give real, raw, honest opinions, especially on my podcast audit. Sometimes I feel like I'm a total jerk because I'm like, this sucks. Let's fix this. I say it a lot nicer than that. But I kind of feel like a jerk because it's somebody's passion project. And I'm like, we need to change this. We need to change this. We need to change this. And I do it out of love. My people have a thick enough skin and actually want to do the work and want to approve, want to not be a ripple and bust out that tsunami of change because they know that they're big enough for an impact. So they'll listen to that sometimes harsh truth. So what problem are you solving? Pick a problem, pick a core focus. My core focus is podfade, is giving up, feeling overwhelmed. That leaves me a lot of topics to talk about, right? If you're a health coach that focuses on perimenopausal women about to hit menopause, that have kids that are still in the house and they're struggling with trying to, and they're business owners. That's like your problem that you're solving is balancing out their hormones. Maybe you have a new product that just came out that can help them balance their hormones. All right. That's a very, very specific one person. And that's a very specific problem that you're solving. You're solving one of the symptoms for perimenopause. Why that came up is I have a client that is launching one of those products right now. So that's why. If you're struggling with that, go check out the Hey Hey Emmy. Is your show showcasing your solution for your people? So here's one of the things that I learned at Podcast Conference. Interview shows are great. I love them. I love them for networking. I love them for growing. Feed Your Business with Love was always an interview show. And then I started doing some solo episodes. You've got to make sure that your solution is being showcased in your episodes. So if you're doing an interview show and you're interviewing everyone else and you're never the expert and you're wondering why your show isn't profitable, if that's your goal, we need to pivot. If you are just talking and you're not giving a call to action, you're not getting them on whatever your next step is, your freebie, your email list, getting them over to wherever you want to nurture them. If you're nurturing them through social media, is your show showcasing, I know it says showcasting, but showcasing your solution for your people? Is it? If it's not, it's time to start thinking about how to put content out that drives your customer or your listener journey. What is your listener journey? Did I just make you stop in your tracks? Do you even know what your listener journey is? If you don't, we need to make sure that your solution is being showcased on your show and you have a listener journey of how that solution fits into that person's life and how they get from A to Z in your solution. So we got to put ego aside right now and we got to audit our podcasts. This is also a great time if you're a new podcaster to set this up with clarity. Are you ready to get real and honest and it's hard. Let me tell you, it's hard. Feed Your Business with Love is not SEO optimized at all. It is a passion project. It is my passion show. Does it grow? Of course it does. It's a top 4% podcast right now in the world. So yeah, you can have a trendy, cutesy title, but I put 3 years of work into that show to make it what it is. If you don't want to put 3 years to get there, we've got to go through the audit. We've got to put aside our ego and we got to do the thing. So are you ready? So how well do you really know your person? Have you just assumed that your SEO is correct? Have you just assumed what they're searching for? I did this. Y'all aren't searching for how to monetize your podcast. You're searching for, with your little fingers on your keyboard, click, 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 click. You're searching for, I don't know where the bubbles came from, but you're searching for how to make money from my podcast, ways my show can make money. You guys aren't using the word monetize. Do you realize how much of my SEO was based on monetize? Yeah. How well do you know your person? What are they typing into their little devices? What are they writing down? What are they excited about? What are they struggling with? What are they going to Google to ask for support with? Here's a great thing. If you have an audience already, which most of you do, you have some sort of Facebook audience or Instagram audience somewhere. It might be small. Maybe you just have an audience of your best friends. If any of your friends or family, you've got to have, if you've got some that are real, raw, and true, that's the best. But start asking people what it is inside your area of expertise that they are searching for. What are they putting into that Google search? What is it they're struggling with? What is it that's really making them frustrated? And how you can be a solution is listen to those questions, listen to those struggles, and get to know them. What are they really asking for? For me, what I was realizing is like I kept focusing on making money and all of these things, but there was this underlying, it's overwhelming, it's hard. I got to start there. I got to make it less overwhelming and less hard so that people are willing to listen to me and be like, this is a good long game for my business, for me. Podcasting is legacy. Legacy takes time to build. You got to get to know your people. And if you don't know your person right now, that's fine. Launch with what you do know. Keep going with what you do know. As you improve, things change. My Cure for Podfade podcast has had 4 different names since it launched in I think it was either May or June of 2022. So in less than 10 months, it has had 4 names because I have been figuring out what it is. Launch messy and grow. Allow it to grow. Has it always had a core theme of podcasting? Yeah. But when I launched it, it was the podcast about podcasting. That wasn't fun for people. People weren't stopping by. So I kept changing it until I found that perfect thing. Is the Cure for Podfade perfect? No, but my tagline, build a profitable business with a podcast, that is SEO-driven. So you might have a tagline. You can add a tagline if you're going to have a cutesy name. So you also need to get to know yourself. I love journaling. Okay, that's a lie. I don't love journaling. But I do love journaling in the fact that it really helps you know yourself and your customer's journey and your listener's journey. Here's why, is that when you're going through something, if you can get yourself to write down what's happening, what you're struggling, what you're putting inside your Google searches, here's the thing. In a year from now, your ideal client will probably be the person you are today. So anytime that you can remember back to where you were a year ago, 2 years ago, normally you've made it through something, you've learned something, and you're now sharing your knowledge. So the more you get to know yourself, the more you put into yourself, the more you put that play in, and the more you actually take the time to remember what it was like back in the day, the more your clients are gonna connect. So do you know your keywords? This is where the freedom is for the slave to social without having to be the slave to social. This is your freedom. This is where it lives in this place. And this is something that comes with time. If you don't want to go down the rabbit hole, there are so many amazing people out there that do SEO. I really recommend Faith Hannon. She was on my podcast. I'll make sure to put the information inside the comments of where to find that episode. She makes it easy. SEO is not as hard as we're making it out to be. And that's what I absolutely love about Faith Hannon. Her show is the Simple SEO podcast. I think that's what it's called. It doesn't have to be hard, but the more keywords that your ideal clients are putting in with their fingers, which she'd let me know, what we say out loud isn't always what we type with our fingers, which blew my mind. But this is where you want to start spending some time. This is where you want to start seeing research. This is where you want to start watching your stats. Do you have one episode that got 20 downloads versus the other episode that got 10 downloads? Do you see a spike in a certain episode? Maybe there's a keyword in there that you need to focus on. Keywords are key. Keywords are freedom. They truly are. So I want you to, once you get to know your person, get to know what they're searching in, again, with their fingers on Google, that's where you can start finding the keywords, start asking questions. There's a ton of ways to do this. So the areas we need to audit are your show name. Is it cutesy? And if somebody lands on it, does it tell you what they're doing? So I love some of the big people out there, but they do a true disservice. I've had a bunch of coaches that name it like the Jennifer Dragonette show. All right, well, if you came to my show, you're not going to know what that is. There's no tagline. It's just the name. We've got to make sure that if you're going to do something that is like the Jennifer Dragonette show, feed your business with love, you've got to put a tagline after that has some keywords in it. We need to address your show name, period. End of story. It's really hard. I can't give up Feed Your Business with Love. It's way too long. My passion project, I'm working to grow it. It is what it is. Cure for Podfade, not the best name, but it's very catchy. Going to market the Cure for Podfade at a podcast event. People didn't remember my name, but they're like, hey, Cure for Podfade. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. I'm your Cure for Podfade. It's very catchy. It's very playful. You got to be memorable somehow. So on your show name, there's two things. You can have a catchy, cutesy name, but again, add that tagline. So mine is the Cure for Podfade line. And then it says, build a profitable business with a podcast. Period. End of story. I get profitable business. I get podcast. Those are all searchable words. Area 2, your tagline. I just told you about this. Add your tagline to your show name. It just gives you a little bit more oomph for your buck for SEO. So add that tagline. Number 3 is your description. Again, I'm showing you where things are searchable on all the different podcast players. Please don't be thinking that you can run ads and things for your show and SEO through the metaverse and all that, because it doesn't work. Area 3, your description. I want you to, in your description, write your keywords. I want you to write down 3 of the main questions you get asked. How do I grow my podcast audience? How do I make money from my podcast? How do I be a guest expert? Or where can I find guests for my show? These are questions I get asked all the time. So these are questions that I would put inside of my show description so that when things start populating, that gets hit. Because again, in most podcast players, it's your title, your actual show name, your description, and your episode titles. Those are the searchable areas in the majority of podcast players. Yes, some podcast players allow you to do search what's called the show description or show notes, but most don't. So if you're not putting it on a blog, I really want you to focus on your show name with a tagline all in one line. So keep that tagline short, your description, and your episode titles. These have to be this. If you don't want to have to be a slave to finding every person, you have to optimize these. Area 5, your show notes. There are some platforms that do look at your show notes. So this is that description that's inside your podcast host. Here's the thing. If you are writing these, get a $9 website from the No Hassle website. If you need a connection, it comes with an SL, whatever it is, cert that makes it secure. She's amazing. She has great customer support. I can't say enough for her. It's just, she plugs and plays, makes it easy. Get those show notes on a blog if you're going to do anything other with your podcast. This just makes it so that Google finds you, because right now Google doesn't search audio. So either do that or get your booty over to YouTube, which is now officially optimized for podcasters. They actually just came out with that. I want to say last month. There's an actual podcast player inside of there, and you can actually dedicate specific playlists to podcasts, and they're featuring them right now. So your show notes on your podcast player itself, the audio version of it, aren't going to help a lot. You do want a little bit in there. You want to make sure you have links so that people can easily click over for the things that you've referenced. Think about these, because as you grow and as you make more space and you see this as profitable, you're going to want to either put it on a blog or YouTube. So start thinking about that and make sure they're optimized with some keywords. This is an area that everyone freaking forgets about. Your podcast cover. Is this the best podcast cover? No, but it does stand out. And I have gotten some feedback from my cover of why people have stopped. Here's what you want. If you are comfortable with it, have your face. It's more welcoming. It's more inviting. My tagline: money, self-love, fun. Success starts from within. That was my old tagline. We keep changing. I keep trying new things. If you're going to spend money, it might be worth having a podcast graphic created from like Fiverr or something. They're not that expensive. But here's the thing: is it's your book cover. So new people that are coming are going to see your book cover. And how many books have you picked up that had a horrible cover that are like, I'm going to buy this unless somebody referred it to you? So you got to remember, this is your book cover. It's very important to have something that stands out, that things are clear, all the things. So really allow yourself some time with this before you relaunch or you launch your show. These are the foundations. These are the core pieces that if you have these in place, your cover, your show notes, your episode titles, your description, your tagline, and your show name, if you have those optimized with keywords, and this one was something that's eye-catchy, you can be found without having to search for your people. And that is what we want. So what's your resistance that's coming up right now? Are you like, Jen, I love my podcast name and I'm not changing it? Great. Let's put a tagline on that bad boy. Is it, oh my gosh, if I get more visible? Are you afraid of visibility? Like, where's the resistance coming up? Do you not want to do the SEO research? Great. Talk to Faith. She has it's an hour one-on-one intensive where she goes through, just make sure that you know your ideal avatar and who you're talking to, and a little bit of the clarity piece of like what you're offering, what your core purpose is, and who you're talking to before you go to her, or you'll just end up sitting there having to figure that stuff out. But where's your resistance? And what actions can you take right now to make your podcast more magnetic? Again, those 6 areas are where I wish you would start focusing. Spend some time with the workbook. If you don't have the workbook, podcastcprbootcamp.com. Grab the workbook. And when you focus on your P's, you don't have to find your listeners. They find you. Boom. So let's get real. What are you currently doing to grow your business? Outside of having to fix the foundations, are you actually spending time to, excuse me, are you actually spending time to grow your business? How are you promoting it? Are you just putting an audiogram on the metaverse? Because audiograms on metaverse don't work. Audiograms on some of the other platforms do work, but definitely not a metaverse. Are you creating tons and tons of show graphics and just sharing it on metaverse? Again, at Podcast Conference, you want your blog, newsletter. Sorry, guys. Let me have a little sip of coffee for a second. It's early. So at conference, I learned what the big guys are doing, and that's blogging. That's having a newsletter, LinkedIn, surprisingly. The other areas that are optimized for podcasts are YouTube. TikTok's going to be rolling out with something, but you have to understand that people that are on most of the social media platforms, TikTok, Twitter, book, Instagram, all of those things, they're looking for a scroll. They're not looking they might learn, they might have a quick come by. I mean, you might be here watching this on Facebook, or you might be, but realistically, these kind of things are where people are numbing out. So you've got to think about, where are you going to capture the people that are willing to jump ship? And I found a lot more success Pinterest is out there. I haven't really tried Pinterest, but people are getting it, but it's not optimized for podcasters. So go to the things that are optimized for SEO and for podcasters. So blog, your newsletter is something that's really important because that's all yours. That's a way that you can go deeper and connect. Your LinkedIn. And again, YouTube just came out with, so if you're going to add one thing, I would say start recording them via video and put a video podcast up, even if it's some sort of an animated like audio. So maybe it's just you sitting there doing B-roll or something, or having a solid graphic and then the waveform, and then at the bottom having your closed captions roll across. Start getting them on YouTube, because I think that the early adopters on YouTube are going to be really excited because they are showing our podcast to other people. So that's what I want you to do. If you're going to focus on one new thing, maybe get over to YouTube, maybe start putting things on your blog, because right now, if you're all in on social trying to grow, you're tackling the same people over and over and over again, and it's just not working. Unless you're getting an ROI. If you're getting a return on investment for your time and for the money you're putting in, keep doing it. If you're not, I want you to just make a list of all the things you're doing to try to grow your business and grow your podcast, and really think about, why are you doing it and what's the ROI? Did somebody tell you to do it? And you're like, I can't stop. That's how I feel with Instagram. Really focus on that. So are you in need of a breakup? Maybe it's time to break up. I am doing my best to break up with Instagram right now, because in the 5 years that I've been using it, I have never created a connection first on Instagram. Have I been using it correctly? No, but I just don't love the vibe over there. It's not for me. Maybe Facebook is that for you. And you're just like, I don't want the community. I don't want the Facebook groups. I'm just over it. My people aren't hanging out there. Maybe you're doing all the things. Maybe you're on TikTok. You can. There's been a lot of really successful people that are building podcasts through TikTok, but not those high-end people. So those people that are making really big profits with their show, they did a report. They surveyed a bunch of top podcasters, so 1% or higher, how they're making money, how they're doing that. And again, the top earning podcasters that were polled were doing blogs, newsletters, and LinkedIn. They were not wasting their time on the metaverse, on TikTok, or any of the other places. YouTube wasn't even in the strategy. But again, this survey and this poll and this report came out before YouTube announced that they were rolling out an actual podcast feature. Where do you want to break up? Where do you want to focus? So your action step is share with us your one purpose, share with us your one person, and the way that you want to add play and pleasure to your business. What's something you're going to do for play and pleasure? Do the homework, do the stuff. That's what I have for you today. If you are interested in a podcast CPR audit, meaning you want my eyes on your business, grab the podcast CPR audit. Again, podcastcpr.com. Go out, make today amazing, because you are beautiful, you are wonderful, you are worthy. So go do the thing. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.